but this is just a guide. This is what you can use as a base. You can use this as a template and add things that are relevant to you. So tailor your letter of motivation. In last week's video, I said this. If you're interested, I made a video that talks about drafting a motivation letter. In that video, I break down the different parts of a motivation letter using examples from the actual motivation letter that got me into the Technical University of Munich. As promised, I'm here to deliver. This week's episode is about the letter of motivation. Hopefully, by the end of this video, you'll be a step closer to applying for the master's program that you desire. Let's get started. Welcome back. As you can now see, we are now on my home screen. I felt it's better to show you how to draft a motivation letter and give you actual tips rather than to just tell you about it. Before we continue, if along this video my voice sounds a little bit odd, it's because I have a cold and I'm still recovering from it, but the videos have to keep coming. So this is how the video is going to progress. We're going to have about 3 or 4 sections or subsections, if you like to call them that. The first one will basically talk about what exactly a letter of motivation is. The second thing is the rules when writing a letter of motivation. We all need to understand the rules when it comes to writing or drafting this document. And finally, the part that you've all been waiting for since you clicked on this video, we're going to basically look at tips and actual examples from my letter of motivation that I used to get into TUM.
Okay, let's go.
And let's get straight right into it. So what exactly is a letter of motivation? My own simple definition is that it's a document that you draft or write to an institution in order to explain yourself on why you think you deserve a particular opportunity more than, the other people who are applying for that same opportunity. It's basically a chance to express yourself, to talk about yourself in a way that will show that you actually fit the particular program that you're applying for. It's literally as simple as that. So this is your chance to shine, basically. Next, we're going to talk about what exactly the rules are when drafting a letter of motivation. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of ways of drafting this particular document. But what I can say is, in most cases, the institution that you're writing or drafting this letter of motivation to has already set guidelines on what the contents of the letter of motivation should be. I don't know if that makes sense. But basically, if you're writing to an institution, or if an institution has told you to draft a letter of motivation, they will tell you exactly what they need in that letter. They might do it in very brief statements, but just follow those particular instructions or those particular rules, and I'm sure you will draft exactly what is required. We're actually going to take a look at this for this particular master's program, and we're going to jump now onto the computer. So as you can see, we are now on the school website for this particular program, Transportation Systems. And it's in German, so I've changed it to English. That way we are all on the same level. If you scroll down to this particular section where it talks about academic and exam regulations, and you can see it's a PDF, we're going to open it in a separate tab, and you can see it's all in German. And I'm pretty sure most of the people who are watching this video aren't too familiar with the language, but I got you. So there's this website called DeepL, and it's a very, very good, if not one of the best translators out there. So this particular software can translate both text and PDFs, PowerPoints, anything you give at it, it will translate it from any language you want to any other language that you need. So we'll go ahead and download the actual document. That way I can take you through the DeepL stuff. And we'll just choose anywhere to download it, and basically it should have downloaded by now. Then we go to our downloaded sections. We'll pick the document. And as you can see, translate into German. No, we want it to translate from German to English. And you can see all these other languages are available. Translating into British English. So we'll wait a couple of seconds. It usually doesn't take too long.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
Once the document has been downloaded and you've opened it on your PDF viewer, we're basically going to scroll down to page 14 and we'll find this section of the justification letter. The justification letter is basically another way of calling or defining or naming a letter of motivation. And as you can see here, there's quite a bit of information and we'll go through it step by step. So it says the written statement of reasons will be evaluated on a scale from 0 to 30 points. So here we find rule number 1. The content of the justification letter is evaluated to the following criteria. 1. Can present the connection between personal interests and the contents of the study program, transportation systems, in a well-structured way. So as you can see, this particular point number 1 carries 15 marks. The second point is whether the candidate can convincingly justify the special willingness to perform the master's degree program. So how motivated are you? How can you express yourself in such a way that you can show the person who is doing the evaluation that you're actually committed to the program? And as you can see here, this has to be done by means of arguments and meaningful examples. So you not only have to just give general ideas, the examples should actually make sense. And the third part can highlight the key points of the rationale in an appropriate linguistic manner. One more rule I think that is very important, and I don't know why they haven't listed it in that previous section, is a written justification of a maximum of 2 DIN A4 pages in English. So I think with that bit of information, we now have all the rules that we need to write or draft our motivation letter. So now let's jump into the tips and examples that I've prepared for you guys. Let's continue. As you can see on screen, tips for drafting a letter of motivation for master's level of study. Each tip contains examples. So we're just going to get right straight into it. Just like the rules stated from the official school document, I'm going to divide the tips into 3 parts as well. So as you can see, part 1A, I'm going to basically talk or give tips about showing your personal interest. So the first part is to introduce yourself. And an example you can give is, my name is John Mike, a 24-year-old Kenyan. Here you can insert your nationality, who is passionate about transportation engineering. So you see, this is very simple, but you've introduced yourself, you've said your age, you've said your nationality, and you've basically shown your passion, which is part of showing your personal interest. The next step is to state your academic qualification. So it could go something like, I completed my bachelor's degree at here you insert the university that you studied in for your bachelor's, and attained a BSc in civil engineering, upper second class honors, and then you can insert the year. So here you'll insert the grade that you got. So all this is just an example. You can twist and turn it however you want. The third tip is to state your professional qualification. So in this section I've said, I strive to use my knowledge and skills to make a positive difference in the lives of people in society. This was the case at my first job. From now here you can insert whichever dates. So I put January 2020 to June 2022, where I worked as an assistant resident engineer in Nairobi for the Nairobi-Mombasa Highway for the Kenya Road Builders. This is basically an example company I worked for. There is actually no company like this. I just made this up. I was involved in the laying of asphalt, which helped improve the quality of life of people in Nairobi. So you see, just right there, you're now building your persona, your profile, and you've basically shown that you're passionate about transportation engineering. You actually did your bachelor's in that particular field, and you've actually worked. So you have work experience in the field. The next step is, what was your experience at school or at work and the effect it caused? Some people apply for their masters immediately after graduating from their bachelor's, and some people actually get a bit of work experience and then apply for their masters, which is basically what I did. But it doesn't matter whichever path that you take. Here, the key point is to talk about your experience and basically say how it has shaped you and how it has molded you to reach where you currently are at. So for example, we could say, during this period, I gained exposure in the field of transportation engineering. The tough work experience motivated me to want to learn more, and I constantly found myself yearning for more knowledge from those more experienced in the field than I was. So as you can see here, the fact that I worked in a tough environment motivated me to want to learn more. So the next question is, or the next tip is, what was your next step? Thus, after completing my bachelor's degree and 4 years of work experience on planning, design, construction, and maintenance projects, I felt it was the right moment to advance my studies. So again here, just make sure your story makes sense. I've just realized here I've said 4 years, and back here I have said January 2020. Just make sure your story aligns. But the point is, in this particular section, I'm basically stating the fact that from my work experience, I felt like I needed to learn more. So after getting a little bit more experience, I felt it was the right time to pursue. And this is why I'm actually applying to this particular program. So you see now the story is building. And the final tip is, how did you come across the program? Because sometimes the people who are doing evaluation want to know. Some of them might be curious. So here in this section, I said, however, I had to find a program that provided high quality education in the field of transportation engineering. And after searching on the internet, I came across this master's program. So it could be any way by the way. It's not a must you research it on the internet. Maybe you could say a mentor or someone that you know, or maybe a colleague of yours told you about the course, and then it sparked your interests, and now you are basically applying for it. Now, when you put all this together, all the tips that I have given you, it will basically create this paragraph that we have here. I'm not going to read because I did read the previous section, but you can pause to read. That way you can see the intention of showing our personal interest has been, or the objective has been met. We move on to part B, which is basically linking your personal interest to what your program offers. So in the first paragraph, we talked about the first part where we were showing our personal interest. Now we have to connect it to what the course has to offer. And once we complete this particular objective, we are now able to actually get the 15 marks that is basically allocated for this particular section. Part 1B. The first tip is, show that you have taken time to look through the course website. Show the person who is basically assessing your letter of motivation that you've actually put effort into it, that you're not just trying to get lucky or maybe half-ass, this application, like you're actually taking it seriously. So actually look through the course website because it has all the information that you need in order to write a very comprehensive letter of motivation. So you could say something like, I believe that this course would be a good fit for me personally after I conducted a review of the university's website and noted the possibility of specialization. So you see right here, it shows that you actually know what the course is about. You know that in this course, even if it's a master's program, which is already a specialization, you can even specialize further into actual specific fields. So the fact that you've pointed it out in your letter of motivation seriously gives you a big advantage because it shows you've done your research. Then now, in this section, you need to do the actual linking. So you need to talk about one thing that you like about the program. Okay? So for example, you could say, one aspect I like about the program structure is that learners are free to choose a specific field of study to further specialize in. So it's similar to the previous point, but you've now, in the first section rather, you've noticed that that's a thing. Now in this part, you're actually saying that you like it, right? One aspect I like about the program. My next tip would be to further expound on the point. That way you hammer down the point, or you hammer home the point. I don't know if that's the saying. Anyway, let me know in the comment section how to actually say it correctly. For this particular section, we could say, I am particularly interested in the field of infrastructure planning. Right then and there, this is an actual course in the master's program, and it's an actual field of study. So it basically shows that you've taken time again and you've gone through the website. So a couple of marks for that, I'm pretty sure. Field of study of infrastructure planning, which equips students with adequate skills that they will need to ensure proper organization, installation, operation, and management of facilities in the future, such as highways and railways, which I have already some work experience in and I'm passionate about. And just like that, you have fully expressed yourself on the fact that you love the fact that there is actual specialization in this course, and you have now the opportunity to specialize in a field that you already have work experience in. So you see, now we're doing the link. Remember, we talked about the fact that we've worked before in our personal interest section. Now that you've shown the fact that the course actually gives an opportunity for you to study or for you to specialize in something that you've already worked in, that you are interested in. So you see, it basically shows that you're a good fit for the program. The next point is talk about one other thing that you like about the program. So basically talk about a second thing that you like. So you could talk about modules. So you say, certain modules within the program also appeal to me. So again, here you're supposed to insert a module from the website. So do your research and look for a particular course that is taught, or a particular module that is taught in the course, and then go and look at the description that that particular course has on the school website. And then here you insert a rephrased version of the module description from the course website. Do not copy it exact word for word, just rephrase it and make it part of your letter of motivation. So that way you've talked about another thing that you like apart from the fact that you can specialize. Now it shows that you actually like the units, some of the units that are being taught. And finally, talk about one other thing that you like about the program related to the department. Now this is where you kind of what is it called? You kind of
Soy el fuego que arde tu piel. Soy el
Much later.
Now this is where you talk nicely about the school, you know. So for example, you could say, I look forward to the style of teaching used by the department in this master's program. I believe that the course has a good balance of lectures, seminars, tutorial exercises, field excursions, and internships as shown in the timetable. Alternatively, you could talk about the team of very experienced lecturers and actually single out one particular lecturer that you like. Maybe you've come across his research work, or maybe you can just even Google him and say, one paper that he wrote, I found it very fascinating, and I would like him to be my mentor once I start the program. So you see, it just shows that what the course has to offer fall in line with your personal interests. And it's very, very simple. It doesn't have to be about transportation engineering. It could be any course. All you need to do is just take time and show the link between the two. So as you can see, part 1b, once you combine all the red sections that I've talked about, this is how the paragraph will basically look like. Again, you can pause to read, and yeah, hopefully it makes sense. So for part 2, it's basically about showing your willingness to study, or as I've stated on screen, show why you are willing to study. And the first tip that I give is declare your full commitment from the start. Let the person who is evaluating not even have a trace or a shadow of a doubt, as I've just previously said. So for example, you could say, there are various reasons why I'm extremely motivated and committed to completing this program if given the opportunity. So you see, that right there, you're preparing the reader for a whole list of reasons. But remember, we're limited to 2 pages. So for this particular part, we will only give 3. So the first reason is basically completing this course will be a step in the right direction career-wise. So you see, now you're talking about your career. You're now thinking about the future. You're showing the reader that this is part of your plan. You know, everyone, I think, generally has a short-term plan, a medium-term plan, and a long-term plan in life. And the fact that you've basically talked about this course as part of your career, which is kind of medium to long-term, it's a step in the right direction, as we've said here, ironically. So as it will prepare me professionally as an aspiring engineer to participate in more complex projects in future. So that's your first reason, right? So right step career-wise, help you better be a better person in your profession, or be a better professional in your profession, and to help you participate in more complex projects and even more challenging projects in future. The second reason is here. Another reason for motivation is the rare chance of making use of state-of-the-art resources, which this globally recognized excellent institution has at its disposal. Some of the resources, for example, include the physical features such as lecture auditoriums, testing laboratories, libraries, and the non-physical facilities such as access to the latest software and other virtual material. So now you're basically showing the person who is evaluating that this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for you. So you really, really, really want this opportunity, and you would do almost anything for it. So you see, that right there is your second reason. And finally, in the distant future, I plan to pursue a PhD in the field of traffic management. So you see, this is just an example. You could insert whatever PhD you want to do in future, or you might, if you would want to do a PhD, you could list it here. So for this particular tip, it's not a must you want to do a PhD, but just put it out there, you know, in case you never know what will happen in the distant future. Maybe in future you won't even do a PhD, but let it appear that this particular program, let it appear in your letter of motivation that this particular program would basically open doors for you to actually do a PhD in future. So it's a step in the right direction. So in the field of traffic management, I believe more research needs to be done in this field to come up with better solutions to this problem. So the problem of traffic management, as we all know, if you live in a big city, traffic congestion is a very, very big problem. So your PhD will basically do more research and look into developing solutions that can be used in future. And yeah, just like that, that's your part 2. You've basically given examples showing your willingness and your level of commitment to actually completing the program or participating in the course to completion. And as you remember, this particular section was 10 marks, and we've basically stated that we are fully committed, and we've given 3 examples. I think that's more than appropriate for 10 marks. And if you combine everything into one paragraph, this is basically how it will come out. And finally, part 3 the grammar, which is up to 5 marks, and this is my genuine opinion. The grammar part is up to you, or this should be you. The grammar part is up to you. Just make sure that there is smooth flow or transition from one segment to the next. So this now is honestly is up to how good your English is. There's a particular section that I actually can show you as an example of grammar and as an example of showing that ability to transition from one segment to the next.
A few moments later.
So with this part here, I strive to use my knowledge and skills to make a positive difference in the lives of people in society. This was the case at my first job. So you see that this phrase right here, it was just a transition phrase or a transition statement to basically move from the fact that we were talking about my academic qualifications. Now we're talking about my professional qualification, and this is now where your English will come in. I could simply say I worked from January 2020 to June 2022. I could have done that, but now we need to show that smooth transition and try to make it between every segment, between every paragraph, from the start of your letter to the end of your letter, and the 5 marks will be guaranteed to be yours. Finally, conclude the letter. And my tip for this particular section is that you need to conclude in a firm but respectful and humble way. Literally, that's just it. So for example, you could say, in conclusion, I strongly believe that my application should succeed because my personal interests fall in line with what the program has to offer. I am willing to study and I have the desire to use my skills to help people, especially those less fortunate, to improve the quality of life of everyone in the society. So you see, firm, humble, but respectful. When you put everything together, this is basically how it will look. When writing an official letter, obviously you have the 2 addresses. So the first one will be yours. Then the second one will be the institution you're writing to. In this case, it's the Technical University of Munich. You need to have a reason. So application for the master's degree program in transportation systems at the Technical University of Munich. Here, obviously, it will change depending on the program that you're applying for and the university that you're applying to. Obviously, you have your sort of salutation, dear sir, stroke madam, and all the 3 parts. So here is part 1A, part 1B, all the way up to here, and finally part 2 and our conclusion, and basically where we sign out. And as you can see, if I'm to zoom out, 2 pages. So you have this page right here, that's 1 page, and this page right here, which is okay, technically 1.5, but this is just a base, by the way. Don't go and copy this exactly word for word and submit it, because number one, quite a few people will watch this video, so you might be caught out with the whole plagiarism issue. But this is just a guide. This is what you can use as a base. You can use this as a template and add things that are relevant to you. So tailor your letter of motivation. This is just guidance. It's not exactly what you should submit. There's actually a lot of personal information that I have removed that went into my letter. Actually, if I can recall my letter, it was almost towards the end of the second page. So there are a couple of things that I've removed that are personal to me, but this is just a guidance. So hopefully everything that I've talked about makes sense in this particular segment. And in case you have any questions, leave them in the comment section down below. In case you want me to explain anything, just message me, or yeah, you can send a DM on Instagram. I'm also there. Check out I think I'm also on Twitter. But even in the YouTube comments, whenever someone has a question, I always respond. So yeah, hopefully this was beneficial for you. And that's about it for this episode. Now you know how to draft a motivation letter that you can use to apply to any university in Germany for master's level of study. If you made it this far into the video, I'm pretty sure you found some very helpful information, and in return I only ask that you leave a like on the video, leave a comment if you have any, and subscribe as it helps the channel grow. And also it's a way of getting feedback to help me improve the quality of these videos. If you're interested about studying in Germany and want to see more content, check out my playlist. It's called A Guide to Study in Germany. Otherwise, I wish you all the best as you go through the process of applying for your future master's program.